Rock and roll. Kia ora, everybody. What's up? It is Robett. Welcome to Robett Live, New Zealand Business Hall of Fame. Tony Falkenstein. What's up, buddy?
Hi, Robert.
How are you, mate? We're just talking.
Fantastic.
You still got the bar tab from last October
Still
on,
got the bar tab. Yeah. I'm hoping for free drinks this year.
You'll just roll up, be like, there you go. For those who aren't aware of the epic amazingness that is Tony, we'd connected up. Shit, it would have been, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it is now. And weapon in the space, done a whole bunch of cool stuff, which we probably don't need to get into, because if you've made it to the New Zealand Business Hall of Fame, if you've made it there, you could be selling tacos is all I care about. You're flipping. You get a pass. How are you, my friend?
I'm bloody great.
So we talked about this. You just said that you've been eating more than ever, but you're fitter than ever. Explain how that is possible.
Well, I do Pilates every morning for an hour. I go for the dog's getting sick of me taking them for walks. But I go do a couple of walks during the day. I sit on the stairs and try and do these pull-ups and things.
Mate, you're supposed to get fatter, not fitter.
But then I also have a look in the fridge quite a bit. and it's like a TV set.
Right, you're in there. So you're in Auckland at the moment. You bunk it up.
I'm in Auckland.
Daughter's come back from England.
Yeah. No, I'm at home and my wife and dog and cat. And then my daughter decided at the last minute. She works on BBC does broadcasting and news, and she suddenly at 7:30 one morning decided to come home. And so she's on a midday flight and arrived here as they were closing the borders. And so she was in in isolation for 2 weeks, and now she's in here trying to beat me to the fridge.
New flatmates. It's probably been a while. Is it weird having a daughter back after ages that hasn't lived with you? Like, is it a new routine? Because I'm sure you probably got into this regular routine of 9 to 5 business with kids, without kids. Has it been a shift, or has it been a nice change of pace for you?
Oh, you just sort of go back to the same. She's just as untidy, leaves the clothes hanging around, eats everything out of the fridge before I do.
So good. All right, so where do we start? Let's start here. You've been in big business longer than I've been alive.
That's right.
You've seen lots of, geez, I can't wait till I'm 70, man. I'm going to have some yarns. It's going to be flipping great. How old are you now anyway? 60?
73.
What?
73.
Jeez. All right. Okay. So yeah, you got 4 decades on me. So I'm 34. So you saw 87. You saw, what was gnarly before 87 that you were like, holy shit? What were another couple before that? So
it was only in, I started in business 1 week after the 1987 share market crash. So prior to that, I was a corporate guy. So when you're a corporate guy, you don't worry about those things.
There's a few people that got the timing on. Okay, so let's talk about that. So you're a month after the stock 87 crash. How are you feeling at that moment without that security?
At that moment, it was 1 week after the share market crash. I don't know. Do you know what a fax machine is, you young guys?
Yes, I know. Do you know what a fax machine is, Tony?
Well, let me tell you some numbers, because I remember these so clearly. In 1985, there were 343 faxes in New Zealand. In 1986, there were 2,400, and in 1987, there were 24,000.
It's the hockey stick. It's like every startup's business projections for finances.
It was fantastic. So what happened was that the sales reps didn't want to go out and rent a fax machine. They wanted to sell them because they're so easy to sell. And if they had to rent them, they had to go back and get finance approval. So I thought, well, this is a great time to be in business. Really, just following what Xerox did with their model. That was, hey, we'll rent these things. If the company falls over, we'll take it back and rent it to somebody else. It doesn't have to be a new machine. So that's what we did, and fortunately, in 1988, nobody else was geared up to renting. We were called Red Eagle Rent-A-Fax, and no one else was geared up to renting or leasing. So we boomed straight after the share market crash,
And
and
it
did
10x the
some
demand, right?
really big numbers.
That's massive.
And that's how I got into business. I mean, right, right at what
So
people would say the worst time.
yeah, okay. So let's fast forward a few decades. We're now in 2020. It's things are crashed, if not crashing. Obviously, there'll be a bigger, gnarlier rollout in terms of commerce. What are you saw a did you in 87 did you see the gap of what you knew that demand would be, and you saw the sweet spot and set up for the demand which you knew would fill into it? Or did you kind of fluke it? Or did you have a feeling?
No, I didn't have a feeling of any share market crash, but I had a feeling that hey, there was an opportunity.
Yeah,
Nobody
yeah, yeah.
was. It was a boom market. Nobody was renting these things, and hey, there was a way I
So
could take a niche. So I wanted to take a niche of a big market rather than taking trying to aim at everybody else.
perfect segue. So right now in 2020, we're at a spot, but tomorrow we're going to have an announcement. Potentially it might go down, potentially it might not, blah, 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 blah. But the second it does, I was just talking to someone on the phone before. Do you know Grant Watson? Grant Watson, ex-Fonterra CEO of McDonald's for 20 years. He knows you, or maybe he's a fan.
Right.
Anyway, smart man. We were just talking about, it's going to be like everyone's at the start line, and it's kind of like a big treasure hunt, and everyone's going to get one piece of the map, and it's like go, because there's going to be this massive wave of potential activity. Some going, some not. It's going to be a blind relay race for many. What would be the industries or niches or potential bits of opportunity which you think might pop out at the end of this immediately, maybe in the next 30 days, that you've potentially thought about? Little pockets of interest that might have some upside.
Well, I think it's so. So the difference here, but from anything else, is that this has just been bang, stop, and in every other one, you've just had some time. It's been sort of over time, over months. So even though the '87 share market crash was, it stopped. It didn't stop everything. Didn't stop trading at all, and so people were still moving about and doing things. So now we've suddenly stopped dead, and some companies are absolutely dead, and a lot of businesses just really are just going to struggle. Uh, so the opportunities, I suppose, and is that there'll be businesses that can be bought. I suppose that's probably the biggest opportunity. I mean, nobody likes to make money out of the bad things, but it's the only way you'll save a whole lot of people from.
Yeah, see, that's the other side of the coin. I was talking to someone else about it, and they said, they don't want to potentially look predatory to the market, although that's the reality of it, because that's how they can actually save jobs. And yes, obviously at the top they might be buying distress assets or whatever, but if you can, there's, I'm sure you're in the same circles of talk. There's mad talks of roll-ups across all sorts of different verticals now that people are thinking about. They've been waiting to pull the trigger on, and those will, yes, at the top, I guess it's quite gnarly because they'll come in not vulture-esque, but like with speed to try and do stuff. But that's what flipping's going to save jobs. That's what's going to get them back to work, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I mean, everyone said, yeah, it's a whole new world, and it is a whole new world, and so I suppose there's nobody knows nobody knows what's going to happen, and it's really just being very, very agile with what you can do, and so it's really wait to make the start.
Questions coming through. Where do
So
you
we
think?
have a.
Sorry, go. No, you go for it.
I mean, we've got a product that's in ventilation, so a product called Univent. I mean, we think that sort of business will actually do well because people will they'll just don't want to be breathing all their old air, and that sort of will come out of this. Hey, I need decent air.
Interesting. So we were talking to Janine Crossan yesterday. She's
Yeah.
just recovered twice from flipping COVID.
Yeah.
Holy shit. And she's got Powered by Flossie, right? And software play to pull in all sorts of different hair salons and stylists and yada yada yada. And she was reckoning there's going to be a whole new kind of fear-based economy, but with way higher hygiene standards of what the expectations are around service when it's up close and personal. And there's going to be different things which we prioritize based on what we feel. And it's funny, I never thought around that, but yeah, I can see that happening. They want fresher air. They're going to need more space. People are going to almost set like some new invisible barriers of normal, or things to try and feel safer mentally, right? Do you feel that potentially we are going to in some way go into a fear-based economy?
Yeah, I don't know
Not
about a
fear as
fear-based.
I'm scared to die.
Well,
But
I think there'll certainly be the fear because suddenly jobs are not safe, and so the people that have them will be very appreciative of them.
mm,
Normally, like after the GFC, unemployment wasn't that bad. So 93% of the population still had jobs, so they were spending money. 7% didn't. But when it gets up to something like 20%, it's that is serious, and everybody's going to be worried.
what do you think it's going to get to in New Zealand, you reckon? Fast forward 3 months.
Well, I haven't changed my prediction. I said when they were talking about 7%, I think now they've gone up to double figures. I was saying, hey, it's going to be closer to 20. But listen, I'm not a very smart guy. I just pull these things out of the air.
It's technically debatable considering what you've done, but I won't fight you.
No, but you have guys like Rob Campbell on there, and guys who know this sort of shit.
No, I get it. Snodgrass is just like that. Snoddy's in the mix. No, but it's interesting to see where and what those different flow-on effects are around. I guess it's going to be a bit of relay depending on what happens with government, with what kind of the new rules that get set up. Keith was just saying, Keith Newell says the air filtration in buildings certainly to change like security measures did after 9/11. I probably agree. Fiona Robertson, Chief Experience Officer, do you think tourism will ever get back to where it was pre-COVID? Oh, good question, but I guess you're not Captain Tourism, but you want to stab at this one?
Yeah, no, I think it's. I mean, I'm the president of Entrepreneurs Organisation, so we have a number of people in tourism, in tourism businesses, from travel agents to owning Haka hotels and Sedima hotels, and they know they're in. I mean, it's just deep shit for them. And then just sitting there with that asset there, and although they say local tourism might happen, but unfortunately us local guys, we don't want to spend that sort of money. So they start getting, their rates have to be really low. So it's a really difficult thing for them.
And globally in the past, when situations happen like this, when there is mass vacancy in space, the only thing they compete on usually is price, so it becomes a bit of a race to the bottom unless they pivot and come up with new different, either I don't even business models or different opportunities, or like one of the ones we were talking about yesterday with Aaron Lloyd. He's one of the partners at Minter Ellison, was came up with this idea to potentially try and what happened if you turn Auckland to the sport center for the world. People can come in, you go into universities, go into 2-week lockdown, and then you've got production at the end of it to have your game or match or whatever it is for global distribution. Because if we're first cab off the rank, and if you're an international player overseas, a lot of their contracts are tied to actually being able to play. And if you said, hey, your club in soccer, whatever it is, hire Air New Zealand plane flight to New Zealand, 2-week lockdown, mandatory quarantine, do your training and then come out. It's like that like, how do you reutilize space? I guess there's all these different ideas of lateral ways to think about things. And that come from Dana White, the president of the UFC, was basically building Fight Island and building out infrastructure to fly in all the fighters from all over the world. I'm imagining they'll go into 2 weeks quarantine, train, and then they've got the production facilities on site for global distribution, pay-per-view. They can at least get the wheels back up and running. And so I wonder, like, all these different sectors and parts that are having trouble in New Zealand, how they're actually will communicate cross-industry to try and think of different ways to approach it. Exactly to your point. Like, I got a message today, I've got to get back to Tim Melt from Juicy. He's wanting to connect up with this charity to try and potentially use some of their unused assets for a pretty good cause to help the community. So I think there's...
I could see the education sector, for example, that they, if you're sitting there in America, you're not going to feel too safe. And so there are all these professors at Harvard or Yale or whatever that could come down here, set up a camp in a hotel, and actually do lectures. And people still like them if they were live. But actually do lectures and bring in, fill the hotel up with students and all come. So a live-in Harvard course, for example.
Yeah, well, if you think about when that resiliency of self-dependence, where say if you go to army, you sign up, 18, you roll in and you're at camp, and you've got your food, your accommodation, your training, the output, it's all kind of controlled in this environment. I think about this idea where if New Zealand can be, not first in the world to squash, COVID or whatever it is, but the branding opportunity globally attached with a call to action that's a magnet for ideas and opportunities and potential commerce, and just to get people flipping rolling. Like in the States, they're talking about hiring out flipping cruise ships to put the NBA players on just to finish the games. It's like, if you know about cruise ships, shit, that's the last place you probably want to put players. Flipping send them to New Zealand. There might be something in that for sure. How do you?
The great thing that has been done is the fact that we are seen as being the country that's tightened up the best around the world, and that just really helps our clean and green image. And I saw that the concept of bringing out 200 Americans with so much $10 million each, $50 million each. There has to be a big push for people that would want to do that. That suddenly we become even more cleaner and greener as the place you want to be at the end of the world. Because if something like this happens again, whatever, hey, where else can you go into a civilized country and that's got beautiful, just beautifully green and clean waters and all that, and they've proved themselves over this.
So the great segue, Tone. So if you look at how the world perceived New Zealand 20, 30 years ago, far away, it's out of the mix, it's not connected into the ecosystem, yada, yada, yada. Weirdly, do you think the liability that was seen as potentially some for others is actually turned into one of our biggest assets, and it's actually flipped?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's, despite what everyone says, because you're always conscious of yourselves, of how, our rivers are dirty, etc. We still are perceived as clean and green. And I think this, the way Jacinda has handled COVID-19 is just as another real big stake in the ground that's, that is going to be good for this country.
She's had, I can't wait for her book and we always got to get through this shit and the rest of it. Man, she's going to have a crazy book. Remember that time you had a baby in a volcano in Christchurch and flipping COVID and the national shutdown, and it's like, jeez, it's going to be so gnarly. What has been kind of cool to see from the outsides, and I don't know, I've got mutual friends that are homies with her and shit, is you can really feel she's genuinely leading with love, and you can see it. You can feel it. It's not just see it or hear it. You can actually feel it, which is quite cool. And when you look at a lot of the other ways, and so when you see leadership like that, regardless where you stand on the political side, it's cool to feel a bit of unity with the energy that she's putting out there. So props.
Oh, there's some great leadership qualities she's shown, and I think there was a Harvard interview in Harvard magazine that just talked about her and someone in America, but the how that's just the leadership qualities that she's shown over this whole thing.
Fiona Roberts, the Chief Experience Officer, says, do you think Kiwis will become more supportive of Made in New Zealand thanks to COVID-19? Good question.
Well, I really don't think so. I mean, I've never been good on those.
It's the wrong answer, Tony.
No, it's the wrong answer. But I've never been strong on those Made in New Zealand because consumers will go for the one that they think is best or cheapest, whatever. So to spend a lot of money on saying, hey, we're made in New Zealand, to some degree they might even think, that they have never worked in any country in the world saying, hey, made in somewhere. I better not say that. Better not say it too loud.
Except, but except the brand of champagne.
Yeah.
The brand of champagne has held weight. Jason Wright
and I
says,
suppose when you see made in Italy, you have a, it's just a positioning statement, and the same as made in France, made in Germany. think of reliability.
Jason Wright says we're quite possibly 21 days into our most 21 days into our most successful offshore marketing campaign, tourism marketing campaign. Basically saying at the end of this, yeah, I mean, I could see that, I guess, because if we're open for business, obviously, I've got a funky feeling though that the borders will stay the way they are for a while, and if you do decide to come, there'll probably be that 2-week lock-in. But I know that for those that are coming back now, I think they've done a deal with 19 hotels and motels in the area, I believe, of what they've done, which is where the idea for the university came in. So then you could be productive for the 2 weeks and actually stage it out. Have you ever seen an economy pause like this ever?
No. That's the thing about nobody is an expert. Everyone,
yeah,
there are a hell of a lot of experts.
We're the experts.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay. So, in any of your businesses that you've ever run, have you ever run a scenario or a crisis potential situation of something like this ever happening?
No, we found I'd love to say that, hey, of course we knew it all, but we found this policy that was done in 2009 that covered this.
Piss off! What, for just water?
Yeah, just water. We had a policy, and in fact it was so good. It was so good we hardly had to change it. We had a crisis committee and influenza people.
And so okay. So let's run it back. So this goes down, and then what? You get a call, and flipping Jenny from HR was like, "Hey Tony, guess what I found?" Well, 10 years ago.
What happened. Exactly what happened.
Okay, and you're like, piss off. Okay, so talk me through that. That is great. Who wrote it? They get a flipping pay. Whoever wrote it, are they still in the business?
I got no idea. I'll probably take all the credit.
So
she sent me an email and said, "Hey, did you know that we had this?"
That is epic.
I cannot believe pandemic policy and
Holy
exactly
shit.
what to do and all this. The whole thing from 2009 it was written. The only thing we updated was where do you store all your off-site? At that stage, we stored it physically.
Yeah,
we obviously don't.
That is, dude. Good on you. You need to create some Just Water Hero Award for that shit. That's great. Well done.
I'll tell you what. I will let you into a little secret.
Oh, go on. No one's. My mum's watching, but apart from that, no one else. Go for it. Continue.
So we sent out to the board and said, "Oh, listen, we just had to update our pandemic policy for the for where it is. Are you all okay with that?" And, we hardly had a comment though. That, "Oh, sure, didn't know you had this."
That's so awesome. That's flipping great, man. Because there was, I don't know if you follow the streams of the gram or that so much, but there's been these videos come out giving Bill Gates mad props, talking about the TED Talk from 5 years ago, and then there's been the Obama one from 2015, or I'm not sure what year, and then the fact that you had a pandemic
2009
and 9 straight ninja shit. That is amazing. Marissa Fong says, "Hey Tony, good to see you." Props.
Hey Marissa.
What's up, Marissa? See, we're getting interactive here. We're getting active. Okay, so what's the biggest learning that have you ever physically been locked in a location like this ever in your life for this long?
No, I haven't, but and I'm lucky we've got some space. I feel really sorry for people who are, especially people with young kids under 10. I mean, it must be just so hard, just keeping them occupied and in a small house. And I mean, fortunately, the weather has been really good up until now, which has been one bonus. But boy, apparently it's raining in Auckland for the next 10 days or something. So it has to be the toughest thing in the world. So it makes my problems feel small when you just think what's out there and some of our staff, what they have to, how they're handling things.
So for yourself, never been physically, I guess, confined to space before. Has your head gone in different ways of reflection or thinking or potential opportunities for the future or new ideas for businesses or ways to do things better? Where's your headspace gone to?
Well, you know how you always say you don't have time to think because you're spending all your time on the business. Well,
You
now you
get
do
it.
have time to think, and I think so. We meet. We've got a three-man, as per the pandemic policy. We have a three-man crisis team, and, and
Were
we
you
meet every
named on
day.
it?
No, well, I signed it. I signed it.
Oh,
But
okay. So you meet every day. You got
we
your
meet
three
every day
person.
at 4 p.m. and we all say to you, we've never been so close as the three top people in the company. We've never been so close just by meeting online because we don't see each other every day.
Hmm. Have any new ideas you've thought of? Things that you would have potentially you'll change in your business after this?
The I suppose Zoom will now become part of our business.
There you go.
Um, Meetings and that a lot more people work from home. Uh, and the other thing is we can include everybody. So that's been one big bonus. Often we have 45 service people right around the country, and it's really hard to include them, make them
Mm.
inclusive. Well, now we can say, hey, listen, every Monday morning at 9 o'clock, we're having a company meeting, and everybody can get in on their phones, or somehow they're either there physically or on their phones, and they can talk in and whatever. So we'll have a Monday huddle, for example,
They,
with everybody. So that's really, really something that's come out of it that's good.
that's cool. Technology creating more bonds within all the different layers geographically within the business. And I'll give you some slang tones because I try to clue you up on this shit. They're called zooies, man. Zoom hooies.
Zoom
Zooies.
hooey, yeah.
Zooies. You just join
Zooey.
join the Just Water Zooey. Um, what have you been? What are you most fearful of after this? Outside of 20% unemployment.
Yeah, no, I'm fearful of, just I suppose for younger people and younger people in business, younger people in entrepreneurs organisation, they've really worked their guts out and maybe 4 or 5 years, got to $1 million or $2 million turnover, and suddenly to have the guts of their business taken away from them to start again. Gee,
Yeah,
that is
that
bloody tough.
reset.
Yeah,
Have you ever done a deal that put you at zero overnight?
yeah, yeah. The
Well,
worst
that's
time of my
good.
life.
So
Yeah,
let's
no,
so it wasn't the watch thing, was it?
it was a watch thing.
Oh.
That got me. I mean, I've lost a lot
Oh.
more money on ventures since then, but that one,
Okay.
it's
So
only about 200 grand, but
but let's
that was it.
I didn't know that was to zero. Okay, so retell the story quickly because I know it, but I feel like I'm missing the thing. I didn't realize it went to zero. So so give us the quick thing of
Well,
of the watch story.
yeah,
Swatch,
when
right?
I tried to get the agency for Swatch Watch
That's right.
when they were launching, I'd seen in Fortune magazine how successful they'd been, and I thought I'd get the agency. I didn't get it, so I went off to Hong Kong and got similar type product, and I
Similar.
screwed the guy down, and it was took about $3 a watch, and I was selling them for $49.95. And so I rang up the receptionist at the company that was selling Swatch and said, hey, listen, when are you going to launch? And they said, oh, it's September 3rd. What are you going to do? We're on TV. What's your pricing? How many models, etc. And so I launched on the same day, similar type TV ad. And between September and December, we sold 27,000 watches, and they sold 6,000. And unfortunately, the over the 3 months since we had the product, the strap had got brittle, not like these robett straps, got brittle, and people put the watch on Christmas Day, and it just snapped, and so they all came back, and so that was, I suppose, the lesson I learned was that I could have for another dollar, I would have got a watch that had been tested right through by Walmart and would have been a perfect watch, but
So for
I
one
got wronged.
dollar, so
Yeah,
you knew you were going to sell it for 40. You stuck at 3, but you could have got it guaranteed the quality for 4 and still had the margin of $36 per watch, and you chose the 3. It's so good.
So
It's so
anyway,
good.
so that was a learning. But the other learning, I suppose, was I could have, the first reaction accountants said, well, put the company into receivership. But the problem with that is that New Zealand's so small and your reputation just out the window, and probably they'd still be talking about me today. Oh, he's the guy.
We are now. Oh, Watchy. Oh, mate, Watchy over here.
Jeez. So
that
anyway,
was at 0.
So we went down to I was able to get out of it, and then got a good job. In fact, I got a job where back then, in about 1982 or something, the company offered me $50,000 startup tax-free, a startup bonus for coming into their company.
Dude, that's
my mother,
grand.
My mother, who was the old German, still hadn't lost her accent. She just said, "These people are in drugs, Anthony. Don't you join them? They must be in drugs."
Were they? Were they in drugs?
I'm not going to tell you. No, they weren't. Definitely weren't.
Man, that's gnarly. Wait, so how much would 50 grand in 1982 as a sign-on bonus be worth now? It must be.
Yeah.
Jeez, that is aggressive.
That was a big bonus. Well, they'd just seen what I'd done in the past prior to Z-Watch, and I think they'd missed the Z-Watch thing. And prior to that, I'd had been running a public company that had gone from 38 cents to over $12, and they thought, hey, we'll hire this guy.
Yeah, he knows what's up.
Seen what had gone on in between.
So let's go to that time. You've eaten shit. You're at 0. You're stuffed. Every watch is coming back, and I'm imagining then they probably physically sent them back in envelopes, and they were getting just overwhelmed at some PO box, just getting destroyed.
I had a little box like that. Every time I got the yellow card in there, I'd go at the back, and there was a big bag of the things. Obviously, my supplier in Hong Kong had disappeared. He was nowhere to be seen or communicate with.
Well, he probably got the seconds from the people that were selling the $4 ones. He bought them for 2, flipped it to you for 3, made his cash, and he's out. So when you're at 0 and you had to reset, all right, this is a time that these business owners right now, there is tough shit going on. There is a lot of redundancies and leases getting broken and businesses shutting down, all sorts of stuff. They're at 0 mentally right now. How did you reset mentally to gear up to keep going? Because it's the perfect time when many are like, stuff it, I'm out of this shit, How did you?
Yeah, I have to say it's I don't think I went into depression, but I wasn't making decisions properly, and I think it took a year. I had also offered a 2-year guarantee, so this thing went on for 2 years. These things kept on coming.
It gets worse.
Swatch only had a 1-year guarantee. We had a 2-year guarantee, so they came in for 2 years. And even now, I'll go into a pharmacy, and they'll say, Tony, we've still got some of your Z watches here. So they're collector's items now. No, so it did take.
Yeah.
I really look back, and I really was not. Yeah, I wasn't operating properly, and I've never had that since. From then on, it's all just kept on going pretty smoothly with the odd bump.
Yeah, but at that point, there was a point that had to be made for you to make that decision. There was a moment. You're stuffed. You're down. Did you were just like, well, dust this shit off, on to the next? What was the... Did you take your headspace through something like talk? Yeah.
It was almost, I think there's a lot of escapism. I just couldn't handle these bloody bags of watches and people ringing me up in the middle of the night and sending me bloody letters. And then Warwick Roger of Metro magazine wrote an article and because he'd bought a watch for his 9-year-old child. And it was a horrible time. I think I did a bit of escapism. I said, I have to go up to Hong Kong and see this guy. Well, I got to Hong Kong. He wasn't there anyway. And I mucked around, and then I thought, oh, well, I'm here. I'll go to Tokyo and see a mate of mine who was there.
Mate, so you just got on the piss.
No, I didn't get on the piss. It was absolute escapism.
Yeah.
When I look back, I just wanted to I had to get away from it.
But then you came home and there's even more watches at the post office with the
Yeah,
yellow cards.
yeah. And
So
then my dear old mother, she said, "Listen, why don't you put an ad in the newspaper, and somebody might be able to fix them." And so that's what I did, and I found a guy out in Mount Albert, and he just took the bag every day, and he put little metal clips on them and new bands on them,
send it back.
and so therefore instead of paying their money back, which it was what I was doing, I was able to send them their watches with a new strap on.
There you go. Damn. What advice would you give now to business owners who are at zero, mentally and maybe financially?
Well, I think it's so. So those are two questions, because one, financially, it's really, you need to look at what the future does hold. It's easy, and I know, members of entrepreneurs organisation, it's easy to, entrepreneurs tend to be so positive, just absolutely positive, and it's really putting a reality check on it. Hey,
Yeah.
is this really going to work? If I've got a travel agency, will I get back? And how? And how will I? If I can't, then I'm better off shutting up shop and deciding, using some of those travel pouches you still got, travel down to,
Go get some escapism, mate.
yeah, go down to Pocono and think what your next venture is. And that's that is bloody tough. And I mean, I've always said, what my parents and they came out from Germany, but other parents, our grandparents, and depression, we have been the lucky generation. We haven't had a war, we haven't had a depression. We've been very, very lucky. Well, suddenly our luck's run out for a lot of people, and it's where the same as in '87, where it lands. If the '87 crash had happened 6 months later, would have been a whole different number of companies that had gone belly up. And the same now, if you've landed in the shit, you might have to stay there. It's might have to climb out of that and start again. And we're in a pretty good country to do that. So that's that one. If you're financially, if you're mentally in the shit, then you need. I've got entrepreneurs organisation, other people. Certainly there are a lot of support organisations. Whether they can. I think in my case, we certainly can help each other. Whether a public support organisation is going to help a business person, I really don't know.
Well, it's a circle of those who get you that you can trust, right? And for those who don't know the entrepreneurs organization, you'll meet. And you have small groups of just under 12, I think, people in a group, and it's Chatham House rules, forum, closed door, and everyone can kind of share all the nuts and bolts of all of it, right? I think the key there is communication with trust, and sometimes people don't have that, and there's obviously a whole bunch of different platforms and stuff that people are going out there, but I think the key is to be able to talk to someone about it that gets it, or else it consumes you. Like the shit consumes you, and it's not healthy.
Yeah, I think and a lot of I'd have to say probably most small businesses, they earn what they could earn as a salary, just they own it, and so their business partner is normally their wife, and maybe they've got 2 or 3 or 4 employees, and who do they talk to? They've always run it that way and run their business that way.
It's those pharmacies that are still family based that you pop back 40 years later and they've still got the same watches. If you had $1 million, if you had 100,000 right now, what would you do? And if you had $1 million right now, what would you do? Spare cash.
Spare cash. I'd probably go into the share market in both cases.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it's just down and then just what?
It's just low, and don't have to worry about it. I mean, that's because I've got a business to run as well. Yeah. If I didn't have a business to run, I'd probably.
Okay, so you go to the stock market because everything's down on obviously what it was. If you were starting up a company with your skill set right now at 73 years old, which I'm sure you're probably thinking about every day of starting another something,
Yeah.
what sector would you go in and why?
Oh,
See, you got the hard questions today, Tony. No, it's easy shit.
yeah. No, I'd. Yeah, I just look for an opportunity where I'd see something that I suppose, like any startup, that needs fixing. That an industry or a business that that I thought I could do better than the current owner.
What do you
Um,
think's most broken at the moment? What industry do you think's
uh,
most broken?
the tourism industry.
Oh, jeez. Okay, so you're going
Well,
into
it has to
tourism.
be. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, or anything holding events has
Yeah,
been
events and
tough.
stuff.
Yeah.
How would you reinvent, out of no fault of their own, how would you reinvent tourism or events? Take your pick. How would you reframe that conversation or relook at that opportunity if you were to approach it with your lens of thinking?
Well, I think events is pretty, not easy, but is relatively easy. Is the great thing is that people now are used to using Zoom and used to feeling quite comfortable talking to people and on Zoom, and so therefore, where before, and Americans have tried it, said, hey, we can do it all on video. People sort of haven't taken to it. I think they will now. So if someone's a professor at Harvard, he can talk to everyone in New Zealand, or he can hold an event. Whether singers, don't know, they couldn't maybe. Yeah,
Commercializing
so
virtual
events
streaming. Yep, I
online
get
will
it.
become. I think the online has really just taken a rapid
Yeah.
step,
Well,
and
that's what
same with online purchasing, and people are getting bored. They have to purchase online, etc.
Yeah. No, it's totally agree. Obviously, I've done a bunch of sort of offline stuff and online, and we've been looking at the same thing of, what would it look like if everyone does the same thing? What's the point of difference? If you've all got the same time, you've got the same tech, what's that variable that's going to make your virtual dot better? Just because it is virtual doesn't mean it's going to win. Then it becomes about, brand, feeling, touch, community, care, depth, empathy. There's all these other like intangible things. So I mean, you're probably right, and the scalability of it can make it not necessarily just a New Zealand thing, right? I'm sure.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And tourism, would you have a crack at that, or you'd let it pause for a little bit?
Well, depends on the sector, I suppose, but what part of it. But we're going to be locked up for a fair while, so you have to prey on locals to help you.
Yeah.
And so I suppose it's and I'm sure the advertising will go towards that.
Yeah.
Spend a holiday at home.
So you went corporate, 87 bubble, month after started, bump, run, win. GFC crash, win. Corona, back down again. What gets you most hopeful for the New Zealand of what's next?
If you're a guy who likes change, here's an ideal opportunity. So, this is a massive change, and it's all about being agile and knowing, hey, when to jump. And I suppose, haven't really made that decision on because I'll just watch it. But I think, we'd certainly be looking at acquisitions.
Mm. Why are you still going so hard? So many people tap out like a decade ago, and
Well,
you
I'll tell you
just
why.
flip and keep sending it. It's so dope. Like I just want, however, whenever you finish, I just want to like that's my new mark. I'm like, all right, I'm going to 112.
Well, do you know what I found out in these last few weeks? Here's why. Imagine sitting at home all the time and bloody, looking at the fridge. I went
Well,
and saw to watch Warren Buffett at one of his annual meetings a couple of years ago, and he was 83 at the time, and his offsider Charlie Munger was 85, and they sat there for 8 hours, answered questions from shareholders, ate ate lollies the whole time. And I came back and I said, listen, sorry guys, if you guys think you're going to take my role, I've got another 20 years here. So no, the fact is that I like, maybe one day, maybe it might be next year, it might be in 10 years. I say, oh shit, I think I'll get rid of this shit. But it's like a game, I suppose.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's snakes and ladders. You've come back down to zero again. You come down, taking the snake all the way back down to zero. And that's the exciting thing. You're starting again.
Yeah, and so that's the thing, is the headspace of it for you. You see that as the challenge, as the chip on the shoulder. All right, cool. Feed. Make it shit. Watch me. All right, cool. And then you reset, and then you giddy up. Right. And it's you versus yourself, right? Like, it's something I've been trying to think about for myself, of like, why am I flipping built this way? And then I get like hyped and excited when it's super gnarly and shit from like, all right, flipping good. All right, mean, let's go. It becomes this like, this battle I build up. Is it the same thing that you've always felt? Like, am I doomed for a future to be just like this?
Yeah, absolutely. We went over, the general manager of Justwater and I went over to Brisbane just 2 months ago. And we saw this opportunity. It was unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
Just don't say crypto. Do not say crypto.
We left on Friday morning, left on Thursday morning. We spent the day with this company. And we came out of that. We had drinks and dinner. We said, man, this was just, where were you for it? And then over dinner, we thought, I wonder why he did this. I wonder why he.
There you go.
On that. And so the next day, we were going to go around to various sites around Brisbane to have a look at this product. And so I rang him up in the morning and said, hey, listen, can we just have another meeting? He said, yeah, sure. So we arrived in at midday, and he said, there were more things that we challenged him on. And then we thought, geez, we're committing a hell of a lot of money here. And then he won't give us exclusive, and thought about it. And so then it was Friday, and we were back on the plane on Friday night. And I said, we've gone from euphoria to stuffing in 3 days. So, like so we looked at the opportunity, and wasn't one for us in the end.
I think is it that regardless how hyped you get on the Kool-Aid, you also just need to have that calming common sense of commercial reality on the other side. Like, guys, I'm so bad at that. I just get so hyped. I'm just like, you. And then the whole time I just have to have this bad cop be like, okay, stop. Why? What if? And you've obviously mastered the art of balancing that tension between hype and opportunity and energy mixed with, commercial realities of where things can flop on the other side, right? Like is that a mental dance, a tango that you kind of have for yourself?
Like our two senior guys will say, Taylor, come out, wake up in the morning, right down, wow, we're going to do this. And they'll either say, hey, listen, let's just wait 2 days. And he'll say, what a shit idea that is. And that's what happens on a regular basis. I come up with crazy ideas, but some of them we take some variations of them, and some work and some don't.
I've got my next little thing that I'm bubbling away with. They've made a Slack channel for me, and one of them says #idea stream, and I'm just filling that shit up. I'm just like, yeah, go. And then I've even just gone back in the last couple of days. I'm looking at something like, dude, that's actually pretty good. I'm like, oh my God, that's horrendous. Oh shit. But like when you're in, it's it's a stream, right? I don't know if you've got me hyped for the next, geez. No, go for it.
I'm writing an article for whatever you're doing with it.
Oh yeah.
The big idea.
Yes.
How do you have the big idea? So anyway.
But there was this article that I read, and it was 20 questions with 20 billionaires, and Forbes did it years ago. And every single person, one of the questions was, where is the best place for doing business and ideas, whatever. And not a single person said the office. Every single person all said it was, golf course or ski lift or meditation or surfing. Or it was all escapism. It was all out. And it came to this thing where I realized you can never force creativity in controlled environments, and you can never put a gun to your own head for that idea just because you're feeling that way at that time.
Yeah.
That's just not, you can't, like, you can set up frameworks to get in flow, but I don't think you can force those things. And that's why it's always, I wonder about, how to control more of your environment to try and have a high percentage maybe, but you definitely can't just say, okay, Tony, give me the $1 billion idea. Like, I don't think that life works like that. I don't know. I
Well,
definitely
I
don't.
ask when if I speak, I ask the audience, hey, how many of you have had the best idea on the toilet or in the bathroom? And every hand goes up, right?
Yeah.
And I say, well, there's a reason for that.
Oh, jeez. Man, I love hanging out, talking shit with you. It's good. All right. On the back side of this, we have to catch up, high five, and hang. Always love your work. Any last parting words to my mum and probably some neighbours or some of the Power Moves crew? Any last
Oh, no,
ramblings?
just take care. I mean, there's a whole lot of opportunities coming up here now, and don't follow Robett and rush into them immediately. Just hang in there for a bit, and it'll be a whole new world you'll be able to come into.
Yeah. I think you've got it really right with the balancing of the seizing the opportunity with the common sense of commerce. I think that is critical. Critical. Love your work, brother. Thanks, dude.
Okay, thanks, Robett.
I'll see you when I see you.
Absolutely.
Bar tab buddies for life. See you, bro.
Bye.
Much love. Shut, bro. What a flippin' G. The boy, Tony Falkenstein. New Zealand Business Hall of Fame. Whole bunch of just cool shit. You can Google him. If you don't already know, he's a weapon and a bro. It's awesome to get him in the mix. How for anyone who's watching this that's under the age of 73, which is flipping every single one I use, how rad is it that someone at that age has that much energy, hype, momentum, ideas, creativity, flipping passion, purpose, focus, all that shit that you need? How cool is it that he is that, and like he's 4 decades older than me? Flipping homie's on fire, such a G. Colleen, as always, love the conversation you both shot. Man, he's cool. It's weird that like energy of people gives you energy. Man, I just want to hang out with him. He's such a good bastard. All right, I'll see him when we're out of this bubble. Good one, team. Good vibes. Good times. And I'll see you all soon. Adios. Deuces. Stay safe. Stay smiling. Be good. Peace.